Hello, it's Austin from T.A.G again. Sorry I haven't done a video in a while. I've been on leave for a little bit, on like vacation essentially, and also I've been taking some time out to, I guess, try to get my life back together for the most part. So today I'm going to be reading out of Acts 27 for all of those that want to read along with me. I'm going to be in verse 22, and I'll probably take it around almost to the end, like 26, 25, before the next like subsection. But we'll see. But the reason why I'm doing this story is because it was preached at my church 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I didn't realize how much of an impact it was going to have until just recently. And to kind of give you some backstory, because we're going to jump in at the very end, Paul is sailing off in this ship with a bunch of people to go to Rome. And it's going fine so far, and pretty much out of nowhere, God tells Paul, like, hey, you guys need to do this. And yeah, the sailors didn't listen to Paul, and Paul was like, if you don't do this, who knows what's going to happen. You might lose the ship, da-da-da, whatever. So they don't listen to Paul, even then, after the warnings. And it's crazy because this storm starts to brew in the middle of the night, and no one's really paying attention to it, to say, and people are freaking out, and it lasts for a pretty long time. I want to say people estimate that it lasts anywhere from probably 3 or 4 nights. This huge storm, and the crew kind of goes chaotic essentially, and they begin throwing stuff overboard, all the supplies, all the food, everything they have essentially. And one of the last nights of the storm, Paul gets visited by an angel, and the angel tells him to essentially, hey, Paul, tell the sailors that they're going to be fine. They can't leave the ship, though. If they leave the ship, they'll surely die. But if they stay on the ship, even though the ship's going to get completely destroyed, everyone's going to live. Everyone's going to survive the shipwreck. Just everyone has to stay on it. And the craziest thing I like about Paul was that even though he got completely ignored and he got put in this horrible situation, he still has this tremendous amount of faith that God is still going to work everything out, even though it's really bad. And he kind of uses that to guide the other people, even though they are still, like, what I'm going to read with you, they're still going to, completely not listen to him at all. So, starting at Acts 27:22, it says, but take courage, none of you will lose your lives, even though the ship will go down. For the last night, an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me, and he said, don't be afraid, Paul, for you will surely stand trial before Caesar. What's more, God in his goodness has granted safety to everyone sailing with you. So take courage, for I believe God, it will be just as he said. But we will be shipwrecked on an island. And so later on in the story, it goes about the shipwreck. And if you read later on in 27 and 28 verses, uh, it even goes down to say, hey, look, the sailors still try to abandon the ship, and Paul literally has to, at that moment, make a decision like, hey, do I want these guys to jump off the ship and then, essentially they're going to die because that's what the angel said? Or do I take a firm ground and try to stop them and try to save their lives, essentially, even though he really has no real, I guess, reason to do that, because everything that they've done so far has been their fault. They didn't listen to Paul, and therefore that's why all this is happening. So Unfortunately, what Paul has to do later on is in verse 30, I'm going to skip down, it says, Then the sailors tried to abandon the ship. They lowered the lifeboat as they were going to put out the anchors from the front of the ship. Paul said to the commanding officer, so because they're sailing to Rome, they have Rome soldiers on there too, so that when they get there, they can get inspected, and the ship, so the ship's not carrying anything that will, sneak in. And so Paul says to the commanding officer and the soldiers, "You will die," meaning everyone on the boat will die unless the sailors stay aboard. So the soldiers cut the rope to the lifeboat and let it drift away. So this is where Paul has absolute tremendous faith, but has to have a little bit of action too. It's not. Sometimes it's all about faith, and sometimes it's a little bit about both, and then sometimes it's a lot of action, even though God might not be doing a lot in your lives. And so the reason why I wanted to pick that story out today was because just recently I've gone through what I would consider a little storm in my life, and it kind of disguised itself as a blessing almost. So I found a girl that I thought I liked, and I still kind of do, but it kind of didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, and so therefore things had to end not in the best of circumstances. Uh, but with that being said, um, we're still good friends, which is awesome. That's one of the coolest things about being a Christian is like even if you go through a breakup or anything like that, you can still kind of be friends at the end. But one of the hardest things that I had to realize, or that I think God is kind of speaking to me today, was that um, I don't know. Still, right now, I don't know if I was in love with like the relationship aspect of like just having a girlfriend and dating, because I've been having no girlfriend for so long, or if I was actually in love with her because of her faith in God and because of both of us having God first in our lives. So I think God is letting me see that more clearly now, whichever way it was. But there is one more thing that I want to do today that I normally don't do in these videos, and that is I'm going to read something that I've wrote. And it's crazy, though, because when I first got to my base here in Kirtland, I got sent all this stuff from my mom. Clothes, everything I had back home. And just recently, I had gone down to my storage locker, and actually found these two books that I used to write poems in and stories in for future references to T.A.G, to reaching out to teenagers that are trying to kind of make it through this hard life of being a Christian and standing up for God. And so one of the craziest poems I think I wrote was about a girl back then, actually, not even the girl that I just dated, but a girl way back then. And I didn't write any title to these poems, but I already read through it, and I believe that this title, kind of the first line, is kind of like how the title should be, I think. But this one would be about staying up late night. And so this is the first time I've ever read these out to a live audience or any type of audience. So bear with me. But it starts off, God, I stay up late night. I stay up late tonight. So much I want to say, but so hard to put words to it. I think I have found the right girl. She is sweet to me. She is so sweet to me. She understands me and doesn't judge me. I can tell her a long story and she listens. But God, why can't I sleep? I have so much stuff to think about. So much of life has been misery. But when I talk to her, all the pain disappears. Am I doing something wrong? I feel something for her. A longing to be with her as long as possible. To have her head lying on my shoulder, her arms wrapped around my waist. But God, is that lust or love? Is it sin or security? That I lost when my parents divorced? Am I trying to fill a void in my life? I don't know, God. I really like her, so I ask, God, why am I up late tonight? And so I want to thank you guys for letting me share this. And I know I'm kind of getting close to, I like to keep these videos under 10 minutes. This one's going to be a little bit over that, which the last couple have been actually. But I just hope that that poem with this Bible verse, with the story that I have, can kind of help you guys out if you're going through a similar struggle, or if you're going through something of the same multitude. And if you are, I encourage you that the best is yet to come. Obviously, that's something that a lot of Christians say, but a lot of them just say it out of, like, hey, yeah, God's going to do something good. But sometimes it's hard to firmly believe that. But I know that through my life, through everything that I've gone through, yeah, there's been ups and downs, but for the most part, everything has been for His glory and for good. So if you're going through a struggling time right now, if you're going through something that is completely bothering you and is not letting you really worship God the same way that you did before, pray about it. Get insight from the Bible, from a close friend that's a Christian, or from a pastor, or someone that can tell you, hey, look at these Bible verses, look at these things, that will help you get past this struggle. And ultimately, always look to God also. He will and can and hears every single one of your prayers. Even though sometimes it may not seem like, it's instantaneous. And that's how some of us think, is like we want it now. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a long road of faithfulness to Him and knowing that He's going to do something good with whatever you're going through right now that actually makes it good in the end. So, like every video, I want to end in prayer, and then I'll see you the next time. But you just want to bow your heads with me, close your eyes. Dear God, I just want to thank you for this day. I want to thank you for everyone that watches this video. I pray that this can be a video that is uplifting to you, that glorifies your name, but also lets those people that are struggling with something right now see you in a whole new light, see you in a whole entire new way. That, yeah, there are some times where you might do something in our lives that might throw us for a loop or make us think like you're doing it on purpose, but really it's all for your glory. And yeah, we're going to go through misery and pain and suffering sometimes, but we can ultimately turn that for your glory and for your kingdom, to try to reach out to people that don't know you and are going through a similar situation. God, I pray if there's anyone that's going through any type of situation that's struggling or hard right now, I pray that you can lift them up, give them peace, give them hope, and just be with all of our people that are in danger and in harm's way every day. And thank you for those people that are protecting us. I pray all this in your name. Amen.